The wise old man archetype appears in many of humanity's most impactful and celebrated literatures. One of the earliest examples of the wise old man is the character of Nestor in the Iliad, an ancient Greek epic poem. He is also found in many of our modern-day literature and movies. Is there a coincidence that our most popular works contains the wise old man, or is he a deeper part of the human psyche? The Swiss psychologist and psychoanalyst, Carl Jung, viewed the wise old man archetype as one of the primordial images or archetypes that exist within the collective unconscious of humanity. He believed that these archetypes are universal symbols that represent fundamental human experiences and emotions, and that they emerge spontaneously in the dreams, art, and religious beliefs of people across cultures and time periods. For Jung, the wise old man archetype represented the inner voice of intuition and wisdom that can guide individuals on their journey of personal growth and self-discovery. He believed that this archetype was often associated with the father figure, and that it represented the wise father, or wise mentor who provides guidance and support to the individual as they navigate the challenges of life. In his works, Jung emphasized the importance of embracing and integrating the various archetypes within the psyche, including the wise old man, in order to achieve a sense of wholeness and integration. The wise old man believes above all in the power of knowledge and in the importance of truth. When integrating this archetype, you will gain the values of discipline, self-control, duty, rules, habit, temperance, and rationalism. However, balance is needed. If the wise old man takes possession, his dark traits can take over, resulting in pompous, boredom and depression by the drudgery and ordinariness of normal life. In Carl Jung's The Red Book we meet Philemon, who is a spiritual figure that represents the wise old man archetype. He appears to Jung in a series of vivid dream images and serves as a mentor and guide, offering Jung advice and guidance as he explores the depths of his own unconscious mind. Jung wrote The Red Book during a time when he was in the process of breaking away from his mentor, Sigmund Freud, and developing his own theories about the human psyche. The book reflects his growing interest in spiritual and mystical experiences, as well as his belief in the importance of the unconscious mind and the role of archetypal symbols in shaping human behavior and experience. Jung later said this about the Red Book. "The years, of which I have spoken to you, when I pursued the inner images, were the most important time of my life. Everything else is to be derived from this. It began at the time, and later details hardly matter anymore. My entire life consisted of elaborating what had burst forth from the unconscious and flooded me like an enigmatic stream and threatened to break me. That was the stuff and material for more than only one life. Everything later was merely outer classification, scientific elaboration, and the integration into life. But the numinous beginning, which contained everything, was then." At the end of the Red Book, when Jung passes his hardest inner tests, giving him a near mental breakdown, the wise old man appears again, giving Jung the deepest wisdoms from the subconscious. This writing Jung later called 7 Sermons to the Dead. Before we get in on some of these writings, it's noteworthy to mention that several events of synchronicity emerged just prior to the writings. Carl Jung's son, Franz Jung, had a dream just before Carl wrote 7 Sermons to the Dead. According to Carl's accounts, Franz had a vivid dream in which he saw a group of people standing in a circle, with one person in the center. The person in the center was holding a book, and as Franz approached the group, he realized that the book was the 7 Sermons to the Dead. "It was like the air was filled with a tense psychic energy. I had a feeling that the house was filled with spirits. As soon as I took up the pen, the whole ghostly assemblage evaporated, and the atmosphere cleared." We will now look at some of the deepest wisdom in Jung's writings. This material is intellectually demanding, and some bits are cut out to give a smoother story. Sermon 1.
We have come back from Jerusalem, where we did not find what we sought. We implore you to let us in. You have what we desire, not your blood, but your light.
Then Philemon appears and lifts his voice. This is the first sermon to the dead, now hear. I begin with nothingness. Nothingness is the same as the fullness. In infinity, full is as good as empty. Nothingness is empty and full. You might just as well say anything else about nothingness, for instance, that it is white, or black, or that it does not exist, or that it exists. That which is endless and eternal has no qualities, since it has all qualities. We call this nothingness or fullness the pleroma. Therein both thinking and being cease, since the eternal and endless possess no qualities. No one is in it, for he would then be distinct from the pleroma, and would possess qualities that would distinguish him as something distinct from the pleroma. In the pleroma there is nothing and everything. Its fruitless creation is not in the pleroma, but in itself. The pleroma is the beginning and end of creation. It pervades creation, just as the sunlight pervades the air. Although the pleroma is altogether pervasive, creation has no share in it, just as a wholly transparent body becomes neither light nor dark through the light pervading it. We are, however, the pleroma itself, for we are a part of the eternal and the endless, but we have no share therein, as we are infinitely removed from the pleroma, not spatially or temporally, but essentially, since we are distinguished from the pleroma in our essence as creation, which is confined within time and space. But why then do we speak of the pleroma at all, if it is everything and nothing? I speak about it in order to begin somewhere, and to free you from the delusion that somewhere without or within there is something fixed or in some way established from the outset. Every so-called fixed and certain thing is only relative. That alone is fixed and certain that is subject to change. Creation, however, is subject to change, therefore it alone is fixed and determined because it has qualities, indeed, it is quality itself. Thus we ask, how did the creation come into being? Creatures came into being, but not creation, since creation is the very quality of the pleroma, as much as non-creation, eternal death, creation is ever present, and so is death. The pleroma has everything, differentiation and non-differentiation. Differentiation is creation. It is differentiated. Differentiation is its essence, and therefore it differentiates, therefore man differentiates, since his essence is differentiation. Therefore, he also differentiates the qualities of the pleroma that do not exist. He differentiates them on account of his own essence. Therefore he must speak of those qualities of the pleroma that do not exist. You ask, what harm is there in not differentiating oneself? If we do not differentiate, we move beyond our essence, beyond creation, and we fall into non-differentiation, which is the other quality of the pleroma. We fall into the pleroma itself and cease to be created beings. We lapse into dissolution in nothingness. This is the death of the creature. Therefore we die to the same extent that we do not differentiate. Hence the creature's essence strives toward differentiation and struggles against primeval, perilous sameness. This is called the principium individuationis. This principle is the essence of the creature. From this you can see why non-differentiation and non-distinction pose a great danger to the creature. Therefore, there is only one striving, namely the striving for one's own essence. If you had this striving, you would not need to know anything about the pleroma and its qualities, and yet you would attain the right goal by virtue of your own essence. Since, however, thought alienates us from our essence, I must teach you that knowledge with which you can bridle your thoughts. The dead ones faded away grumbling and moaning, and their cries died away in the distance.
Oh, wise Philemon, do you believe what you teach? Is there a guarantee that you are not mistaken?
There are no mistakes in these things, there are only different levels of knowledge. These things are as you know them. Only in your world are things always other than you know them, and therefore there are only mistakes in your world. This was the first sermon to the dead. Jung mentioned that there were two versions, one public, seen in memories, dreams and reflections, published in 1961, and does not contain the character of Philemon. The private version, that is seen in the last chapter of the Red Book, contains the character of Philemon and became known to the public in 2009. There is a note at the end of the first sermon, referencing a BBC interview held in 1959.
To church on Sunday.
And did you believe in God?
Oh, yes.
Do you now believe in God?
Now? Difficult to answer. I know. I don't need to believe. I know.
In the next episode, we will dig deeper into the teachings of the wise old man archetype. Thank you for viewing.